Here's to our folks around the world who have made the battle with bugs an everyday affair. Happy Global Testers Day! With an increase in global mobile users, here's some food for thought. Are we future ready to test mobile based applications? We have Poornima Hegde, lead quality engineer at Walmart Global Tech India, sharing her thoughts on whether we are future ready to test mobile based applications. Poornima is an automation nerd, and even at a very young phase in her career, she started mentoring trainees at work. She now leads a big team of test engineers at Walmart. Let's hear it from Poornima.
Hello everyone, a big hi from Poornima Hegde. Welcome to QA Space. Let me share one incident with you all. The other day I got a call from my grandma and she was saying she is bored. I casually asked her why, what happened? And she was like, her internet is not working, so she is not able to watch anything on YouTube. Let me tell you, she's 75 years old. Nowadays we usually see, right? So 2 years, 3 years kid, they don't eat anything unless you show them something on mobile phone. That's the era we are living in. And the user base who use mobile application, it's really wide. To cap all this, there comes the COVID era, where everything was home delivered. But how? Obviously, either by ordering from mobile phone or desktop, right? We have seen tremendous growth in this. Global data consumption increased by 30%. More than 50% of the web traffic is coming from mobile, and mobile application testing market is anticipated to hit 21 billion by 2030. That's the market we are targeting. As users increased, there is an increase in mobile applications as well, which resulted in competition. It is hard to tell how users use application, but it is even harder to retain them. Let me tell you some examples or statistics why people uninstall the apps. Statistics say that 40% of the users uninstall because we ask too many permissions while they are using the applications. One example is we ask them, is it okay to share the credit card details, or give permission to photos, galleries, give permission to contact details. There are many more like that. And no one wants to share their personal details with the mobile apps. That's why they uninstall when they have to give too many permissions. The next reason might be the obvious issues which users see. For example, app crashes or it freezes, those kind of errors. 50% of the users, they uninstall because it occupies too much space. When the device run out of memory, what we do, we go to settings and we see which application is using the highest memory. We just go and uninstall that application if that is not something which is very useful for us. The next data shows that if the application is sending too many push notification, users are tend to uninstall their application. No one wants to disturb when they are doing some important work. So that percentage is very huge, which is 71%. As we have seen, quality is so important to retain the users and also give the better user experience. Testing plays important role here. Let's see how we usually test when it comes to mobile applications or any other testing that matters. So when we get an requirement, we definitely go and write our test cases. That's where we write all our functional test cases and we perform the functional test cases testing. Once we are comfortable with the unit test cases or the functional test cases, we'll go ahead and integrate that with the other systems with which it has to talk, and we'll perform all the integration testing. For example, whether the contracts which both the systems signed for are correct or not, whether it's behaving according to that or not, and the other integration part testings. When we are comfortable with both the testings and also we do the system testing, That's when the automation testing comes into picture. We automate all our test cases or whichever is possible. We will have a different kinds of tools suits. One is regression, one is system test cases, and we will be running it on a daily basis or periodically. Um, After that, we also perform compatibility testing. There are different tools available in the market. We will go ahead and check whether the mobile applications we developed is it compatible for the different OS and screen size combinations using Source Lab or in different tools, right? So these are all related to functional testing. There are we non-functional site testing as well, which we perform. The first one might be the localization testing, where we make sure that the app which we are testing is can be used and it can be changed according to the particular local, right? If you want me to give an example, you can take example of Amazon app itself. There only when we launch we can change the app language to Hindi if it is in India. So we can change it and we can see whether it is everything is showing properly or not. That is localization testing we do. And also we do security testing. For example, when the user is giving information, whether it's secure enough or is there any possibility of security vulnerable, we do that. And also we do performance testing, where we automate all our APIs and we create a flow and we check it in the JMeter and the same APIs whether it is able to take the load what we expect, or if it exceeds how does it behave. We check all those things using geometer script or some other tools using as a part of performance testing. Once we are done with all this, we perform UAT testing as well, where we test it with separate users who are actual users. We test it with them and make sure it is behaving as expected, right? So with all this, we do mobile testing. Even after performing all this, there is a possibility that we miss the usual bugs or very minute bugs, right? Why is that? So today in this lecture, I want to concentrate on two possibility, two very important testing which we usually miss or given low priority. The first one in that list is visual testing. So before going into what is visual testing, what we do along with that, I want you guys to take one exercise or play a game.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May. Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
That's right, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Action.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord...
How many of you actually observed things changing? Or at least the dead man who woke up and started walking? You missed it, right? We are so focused on observing specific things, we actually miss things coming on our way. This happens in testing as well. So we'll be so focusing on testing some functionality or executing some test cases. We tend to miss a few things which is coming on our way. So how do we avoid that? So answer might be we automate it. Daily we make sure that we don't do any human errors with it. So let's see. Let's take an example of login screen. What do you automate? We automate entering username. We automate entering password and click on sign in button, and we'll add our assertions in the next page saying that whether the name is displayed or not. Very simple login page. Let's say we automate it and we are running it on a daily basis and everything is fine. What if the color of the logo which displays in the login page itself is changed? Do we ever observe that using automation unless we add actual assertion to it? This is what is called as intentional blindness. So when we automate it, we actually code in intentional blindness, right? Now you might be thinking this is an edge case and nice to have thing. But let me show you something. Take a look at the first bug which it is showing, right? So this is the imagine this is there in your just below credit card, and it is asking you two options whether to save this card or not. Here it's clear visual bug. So automation cannot catch this because the automation works with the DOM. We take the locator and it checks the DOM, it is there, it clicks on it and goes forward. Automation won't be able to check this. But think how severe this bug is. Now someone, he doesn't want to store his card with our application, but he does, instead of saying no, he might click on yes, and this is very big security issue. And take a look at the second screen, which is the Instagram. See how it is showing. By looking at it, you can say that okay, this is the P1 issue when we launch. If you see that, this is not at all a good user experience. Now let's see how can we solve this issue. There is one API built by AppTools that is called ICE. We can integrate that ICE with all popular automation framework, for example, Selenium, Appium, Expresso, XCUIT. We can integrate with all of this, and we can perform visual testing along with that. Today I'll give you a basic example how we can integrate and how does it work. I'm taking the same login example. So the first screen what you see, it is very simple. It has the username and it has the password, and user has to click on it. If you want to automate this, we might have already wrote a script to automate using any of these automation tools, for example, Selenium, Appium, or WebDriver IO. We just have to integrate the library which is given by AppTools along with our code. Take a look at the code. The first thing what we are doing here is opening our app, and then we are opening the login page. The next thing, this is where the visual testing starts. Here we are saying that okay, start the visual testing. The next one is, if you see this one, this is where it takes the screenshot and it puts it in the cloud. If this test case is running for the first time, this screenshot is taken as a baseline for the next test to run. And let's say this is the second time this test case is running, and it already has one screenshot taken and it is stored in their cloud. So what happens next time is, if you see this screen, there is a difference between this screen and there's a difference between this screen and this screen. The differences are here, where the password field has changed and the login button has gone up, and we have these social media icons as well. Our test should be able to detect all this and give us the result when we run the visual testing. That's what IAPI does, or the library does. We are adding eyes to our test cases. So when it runs, it checks, it compares the screen with the screen which is already available and gives us the result. If you see the result, it is highlighted in red. These are all the changes from the previous screen. That is how the visual testing takes care of it. And the next one, where we are saying, okay, our visual testing is done, when this line gets executed, which is ice.close async, this result gets stored in that cloud, and they really have a nice dashboard where testers can go and validate what happens with the screen, and they can file a bug if they miss something. So this way, we are making sure that we are comparing the history with the existing screen, and if there is any difference with the screen, it detects and gives us the result. We are doing visual testing with the help of artificial intelligence. This is the very basic example of this. You can go to their website and read more about it. It's definitely a nice testing to be done for each and every application out there. Next kind of testing activity which I really want to focus on and really empathize each and every one of us do this activity for our mobile application is the accessibility testing. Let's see what exactly it is. It is nothing but we test to make sure that the app is accessible by each and every one of us, even with the people having disabilities. That is called as accessibility testing. Let's see what kind of disabilities out there and how can we help the people with disabilities to use our application flawlessly. There might be people who are partially sighted, or there might be people who has cognitive issues. In that case, they won't be able to memorize things for a long time. For an example, if we are showing any code in the first screen and users are asked to enter the same code after let's say 10 or 15 seconds, it might be easy for the normal person, but this will be definitely difficult for the people who are having cognitive issues. So we have to make sure that our application is not having those kind of things while designing or while testing. So there might be people for whom hearing is the problem. For them, we have to make sure we don't use any audio instructions or video instructions in our applications. Even if we use, there should be a line explaining what it does. It should not be, the instruction should not be only through audio. And the same goes with the video also. Instruction should not be only with the video. It will be difficult for the people who are having partial sight problem. So they won't be able to follow the instructions. So even if it is there should be a label which they can read and make sure that they use our application flawlessly. And there might be some people who are having finger joint mobility issue. What that is, we use our fingers to test or fingers to scroll, right? So there are people who won't be able to use that. How do they interact with the applications in that case? So they'll be using the switch which is there in our mobile phone, which might be volume up or volume down button which we use. Using that, they'll be interacting with our application. That is called as switch control testing. We will have to perform the switch control testing to make sure that we are able to reach each and every interactive elements on the screen. For example, let's say switch up moves the control to the very next interactive element. So we will have to make sure that we use that button each and every time, and it goes to the next in the same order which you see in the screen. so that it is easy for them to use. And someone might be having the color blindness. So what is color blindness? So if it is blue, the normal people see it as blue. For them, it might be some other color. Let's say you are giving the instructions through colors. Let me take the example of same login page where there is a username, there is a password and the login button. User has to enter username, password and click on the login button. He does that when the username and login button, username and password is wrong. If you are changing only the color of login button to red to say the user that this is wrong, this will be difficult for the people who are having color blindness. They never won't be able to log into our application because they never know that okay, they entered wrong username and password. The only option which is left for them is to uninstall. The same goes with the switch control as well. If you are not able to reach to login button using volume up or down, they won't be able to log in any case. Even for them, the only option remaining would be uninstall the application. How can we check all this, right? There are different tools available in the market. For Android, I suggest the TalkBack. TalkBack application is nothing but this is the screen reader, which you can install it from any Play Store. You can just open the application and you can enable that. What it does is it reads each and every label or the text which is out there on the screen. For that to happen, while coding, developer has to give the area label to it. Whatever area label is given to the label or the button or text field, all the interactive elements or it goes and rates it. This is helpful for the people who are blind. So they should be able to interact using the TalkBack, using the gestures. Let's say it is saying tap on in the screen. So they'll be able to tap on the screen just by hearing that. And there are different gestures available for that. So even using one finger means something for TalkBack. The same goes with the 2 fingers swipe, 3 finger swipe. This is the application for Android. So the next application which I want to suggest is the VoiceOver, which is there for iOS. No need to install it separately. It is already there built in. You just have to go and enable it. Even for the VoiceOver, it is the same. It is the screen reader for iOS applications, and it also has its own gestures. Using the gestures, you can interact with the VoiceOver and do the testing and make sure that it reads all the labels, text messages, and even it has to read any pictures available. Even developers, when they develop, they have to mention the area label even to the picture, and VoiceOver or any screen reader should explain what that picture is all about. Next, the next website which I want to suggest for color blind testing is Juicy Studio. What it does is, let's say there is one button which has foreground and background color. You can give RGB values of foreground and background color to it, and it says that whether it is accessible friendly or not. That website is juicystudio.com. Thank you. What we talked about till now is checking everything manually, whether all the labelings are present, whether the keyboard is stuck anywhere, all the buttons are accessible or not. To check these things manually is very time consuming and energy consuming, which is not possible in the real world. For that to happen, automatically, Accessibility Insight is integrated with Axe library and checks these things
FastPass is a
automatically and
two-step
delivers the
process
report
that
at
helps
end of the day.
developers
Let's
find
have a look
common,
at it.
high-impact accessibility issues in less than 5 minutes. We recommend running a FastPass prior to each code pull request. FastPass begins with automated checks. Connect your computer to your test device. On your device, open your target app and navigate to the screen you want to test. On your computer, open Accessibility Insights for Android. When the screen says Connected and Ready to Go, select Start Testing. In a few seconds, the automated check results are displayed in a new window. The window includes the total number of failure instances, a list of the accessibility rules that were violated, the number of failed instances for each rule, and a screenshot of the target app with failed instances highlighted. The Visual Helper toggle lets you quickly show or hide the highlighting. Expanding a rule shows links to more information about the rule and the underlying WCAG requirement. It also shows the related failure instances as a set of cards and highlights those failures in the screenshot. In the bottom right corner of each failure card is a disclosure button that reveals more actions. You can file an issue in GitHub or Azure Boards, or copy the failure details to your clipboard. And you can share a detailed report of all the automated check results by selecting Export Result in the command bar. The second step in FastPass is an assisted manual test for tab stops. Accessibility Insights explains how to test and what problems to look for. To test, turn on the Visual Helper and navigate through your app using the tab and arrow keys. You can use the built-in virtual keyboard to complete this test on any device, or if you prefer, you can use your computer's keyboard to test on a virtual device, or a Bluetooth keyboard connected to a physical device. The Visual Helper makes it easy to identify keyboard accessibility problems such as missing tab stops, keyboard traps, and incorrect tab order. An optional step in FastPass is to evaluate instances that need review. Sometimes an automated check encounters an element coded in a way that it can't be evaluated automatically. Such instances need to be reviewed by a human to determine whether they pass or fail. Expanding a rule reveals the instances that need to be reviewed. Selecting an instance highlights it in the screenshot. Under How to Check, you'll find instructions for verifying that an instance passes.
This is how we check automatically, but this Axe library can be integrated with our automation as well. For example, it can be integrated with Selenium, WebDriver, Appium, Express. And we can perform the accessibility testing along with our functional or regression suits.
Thank you so much for your valuable insights, Poornima. And thank you to all the participants for joining us at the Global Testers Day 2022 event. We hope you found this webinar informative. We have more webinars coming up in this series, so keep checking our social media handles for more details. Thank you so much and see you all again soon.